Council duly open and ready to conduct any business that may come before it. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Steph, could you do roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Totino.
Present.
Councilmember Serna.
Here.
Councilmember Kingsley.
Here.
Councilmember Barton.
Here.
Councilmember Elam.
Here.
Vice President Sokolowski.
Here.
President Leonard.
Here.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Thank you. Before the regularly scheduled meeting this evening, Borough Council did hold an executive session prior on personnel and property matters. The next item on the agenda is public comment for anything on the agenda only. So if anyone has any comments for an agenda item, it would be now that you would come up and make them. Okay. For the record, there is no public comment for agenda items. The first item under presentation is a proclamation celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Jacqueline Rocco and Jennifer Riviera, if you could come up, please. They are from the, speaking on behalf of the Hispanic Heritage Association. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. It's so nice to see you guys.
Good to see you too, and even with your crutches.
You know, it's a journey, but it's okay. So we wanted to just say a couple words before the proclamation, in which we are so grateful for the recognition that the borough does every year through Hispanic Heritage Month, along with the partnership that we have with Hispanic Heritage Association. As we continue to move forward and bring public awareness of who we are as a people, we thank you for your continued support and your partnership. What is Hispanic Heritage Month? It can be celebrated in any way, right, for anyone. Not only are we celebrating different Latin American countries, our independence from our conquerors, but we are also celebrating different Latin American countries through culture, through the contributions that we make through the fabric of the United States, the things that we do as a people. But we're also celebrating our ancestors. We do recognize our indigenous piece. We do recognize our African ancestors and our European ancestors. So we celebrate not only us, but we celebrate everyone. So thank you so much as we continue to practice diversity, equity, and inclusion. Even in the midst of it being as politicized as it is, we are grateful to the partnership and the parties that we have here in the Borough of Conshohocken for being receptive to that. So thank you so much for your contribution and your continued support with the association. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Mr. Serna, could read the proclamation.
Okay. A proclamation celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas the Borough of Conshohocken wishes to celebrate and recognize the extraordinary contributions Hispanics have made to American society and culture. And whereas on August 17, 1988, on the approval of Public Law 100-402, the United States Congress set forth a series of annual presidential proclamations designating the 31-day period beginning September 15th and ending on October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. And whereas we celebrate all Hispanics, defined by the United States Census Bureau as a person of Cuban, Mexican, Puerto Rican, South of Central America, or other Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. And further states that Hispanics or Latinos can be of any race, ancestry, or ethnicity. And whereas on this date, we recognize all Hispanics and bring awareness of culture, language, history, art, education, and other highlighted moments. We adopt every year the third Friday of September as a Hispanic Day of celebration. And now, therefore, we celebrate the work of the Hispanic Heritage Association of Southeastern PA and its volunteers that promote and bring awareness through events and partnerships, including the Hispanic Day of Celebration, to be celebrated here in the Borough of Conshohocken. In witness, wherefore, I have hereunto set my hand and cause to be affixed the great seal of the Borough of Conshohocken, to be affixed this 21st day of September 2022.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
So if council is so inclined this evening, the motion is to approve Proclamation 2022-06, recognizing the third Friday in September as the Hispanic Day of Celebration in the Borough of Conshohocken. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Is there a parade this year? Is there a parade this year?
Is there a parade?
Parade, didn't,
Parade for the...
promenade or?
Our stuff usually happens at the end of the year. When
Okay.
we do the parranda, so
That's it. That's what I was looking for. What was it called?
parranda.
Paranda.
Yeah.
You like saying that?
I do, but I can't roll my tongue.
Oh, really?
All right.
Set. Is in place. The next item on the agenda is land use matters, public hearings, and ordinances. The first item is consider granting conditional use approval for 1016 Maple Street. Mr. Peters, if you can open that up for the record.
Thank you, President Leonard. If we could go on the record. This is the scheduled date and time for a vote on the conditional use application of Christina Pieri and Brian Pieri for their property located at 1016 Maple Street in the Borough of Conshohocken. The applicants seek relief pursuant to zoning ordinance section 27-1905-C to permit demolition of a single-family detached dwelling that is at least 50 years old. As council will recall, this matter was before you for a hearing on September 7th, 2022, at which time all evidence was presented and the matter was continued to this evening for a vote. Prior to tonight's meeting, circulated to Borough Council were a set of proposed conditions, as we do with each of these conditional use applications. Those proposed conditions as presented would be that the project be constructed in substantial conformance with the application, the exhibits, and the testimony, including exhibits B4, B5, and B6 to the hearing. That applicant execute a deed restriction limiting use of the garage to the parking of motor vehicles. And what we mean by that is that the garage not be used exclusively for storage and is designed to satisfy the off-street parking requirements for the project. Number 3, prior to demolition of the existing structure, the applicant shall obtain a demolition permit from the borough and shall enter into a demolition and escrow agreement acceptable to the borough. Number 4, that the applicant shall file a stormwater management plan application with the borough prior to any construction and shall comply with Chapter 19 Stormwater Management of the Borough's Code of Ordinances, which was recently amended by this council by Ordinance Number 10 of 2022. And number 5, the applicant shall otherwise comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. With those conditions, this matter is before you this evening for a vote. And if you do vote to approve, the recommendation of administration is to approve with those conditions.
So this evening, the motion would be to approve conditional use grant for 1016 Maple Street for the demolition of the existing single-family detached residential structure, subject to the conditions of the approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And with that, we can close that hearing, President Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Got done.
And now, if you wouldn't mind, could you again open up the record for 1125 Wood Street?
Yes, I can, President Leonard. If we could go on the record, this is the scheduled date and time for a vote on the conditional use application of Fred DiStolfo for the property located at 1125 Wood Street in the Borough of Conshohocken. The zoning relief sought is pursuant to the same section as the prior hearing, section 27-1905-C, to permit demolition of a single-family detached dwelling that is at least 50 years old. This matter was also before you on September 7th, 2022, and was also continued to this evening for a vote. Before getting into the proposed conditions, there is one additional evidence. Borough Exhibit 10, Exhibit B10, would be the most recent deed recorded for the property dated May 27th, 2022, transferring the property to the applicants and Mr. DeStolfo's parents. And also Mr. DeStolfo's wife is included on there as well. With that, to read the conditions, they mirror the conditions for the last application. It shall be constructed in substantial conformance with the materials presented to you, including Exhibits B4, B5, and B6. The applicant shall execute the same deed restriction, limiting use of the garage to the parking of motor vehicles. And again, what we mean by that is the garage can't be used exclusively for storage and is required to meet the off-street parking requirements for the project. Condition 3, prior to demolition, the applicant would obtain a demolition permit from the borough and enter into a demolition and escrow agreement acceptable to the borough. The applicant shall file a stormwater management plan application with the borough pursuant to Chapter 19 and Ordinance Number 10 of 2022, and the applicant shall comply with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations. If council is inclined to grant approval, the recommendation that would be that you do so with those conditions.
So the motion this evening, if council is inclined, is to grant conditional use approval for 1125 Wood Street for demolition of the existing single-family detached residential structure, subject to the conditions of approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
And the last thing for the record, for both hearings, we will be sending notices of decision tomorrow. And with that, we can close the record.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Thank you to our court reporter as well. And you're welcome.
Thank you.
See you guys. Yeah, take care. I'll just email those
Happy
decisions to you
building.
guys. Okay?
Party.
Yep, see you, man. See you soon.
Bye, guys.
Feel better, Jackie? What happened? I don't know. Next on the item on the agenda is consider approving Resolution 2022-24, approving a waiver of land development for the SEPTA parking facility project. And again, I will turn that over to Mr. Peters.
Thank you, President Leonard. SEPTA was before you at your last meeting to go over an application for a waiver of land development. Since that meeting, staff, professionals, and administration have prepared a resolution which has been shared with SEPTA, and we have confirmation that the resolution, if approved by council and the conditions therein, would also be acceptable to SEPTA. So I will review the resolution. The resolution outlines all the background associated with this project. The property is known as 101 Washington Street, and SEPTA is currently the equitable owner of the property. In addition to the general waiver request, SEPTA requests specific waivers from 22-404.3F6 regarding parking stall size, from 22-4051C to permit sidewalks with a width of less than 15 feet, and from 22-804 to excuse the requirement of park and rec land and/or a fee in lieu thereof. SEPTA was also before the zoning hearing board and got relief by decision issued May 17th, 2022. The variances associated with that application are set forth in the resolution, and there are also certain conditions imposed on that zoning relief which are also set forth in the resolution. If council was inclined to grant approval, the proposed conditions and stipulations of that approval would be as follows. That SEPTA would be granted these specifically requested waivers subject to the conditions of the resolution. That SEPTA shall comply with the comments in your Borough Engineer Review Letter, Borough Zoning Officer Review Letter, Borough Traffic Engineer Review Letter, and Borough Fire Marshal Review Letter, and that SEPTA will also work with the borough to determine what, if any, revisions are mandated by the Montgomery County Planning Commission Review Letter. All of those review letters are attached as exhibits to the resolution. that SEPTA will comply with all conditions of the zoning hearing board approval, that SEPTA will obtain all appropriate permits, that SEPTA will demonstrate compliance with the requirements of any and all outside agencies, that SEPTA will continue to work in good faith with PennDOT and the Borough regarding necessary improvements at the Oak Street Rail Crossing and the intersections of West Elm Street and Oak Street and West Elm Street and Fayette Street to address potential vehicle queuing and clearance of the tracks at the Oak Street crossing, which includes good faith negotiation of a memorandum of understanding that would address those issues. Number 11, that SEPTA would satisfy any and all outstanding invoices from the borough, and we have a professional services agreement in place with them to address that issue. That SEPTA, to the satisfaction of borough administration and the solicitor, will demonstrate that sufficient funds have been allocated to secure the improvements on the plan. That SEPTA will pay all outstanding administrative, engineering, and legal expenses, again pursuant to the PSA already in place. That SEPTA will execute a land development agreement and stormwater operations and maintenance agreement for the project in a form satisfactory to the borough solicitor. And number 15, that SEPTA will abide by all terms and conditions of the resolution. If inclined to grant a waiver of land development, those are the conditions being proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
You're welcome.
So the motion this evening is to approve Resolution 2022-24, approving a waiver of land development for the SEPTA parking facility project.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The first two items are approve and adopt the August 3rd and August 17th regular meeting minutes. The second is approve the August ending treasurer's report and accounts payable. Motion this evening we will be seeking from council is to approve and adopt the August 3rd and August 17th regular meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to approve the August ending treasurer's report and accounts payable in the amount of $510,366.41.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is unfinished business, which I will turn over to Ms. Checo.
Thank you, President Leonard. As discussed at your work session in September, the minimum municipal obligations, also known as the MMOs for the pension plans, are budgeted for every year in the 2023 budget. Those amounts are $598,660 for the police pension plan, $3,929 for the fire pension plan, and $216,956 for the non-uniform pension plan. And per federal regulations, I do need you to approve those figures this evening.
So the motion for council this evening is to approve the borough's 2023 minimum municipal obligation for the police pension plan in the amount of $598,660, fire pension plan in the amount of $3,929, and the non-uniform pension plan in the amount of $216,956.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the temporary to-go parking spaces on West 4th Avenue. Again, we discussed this at the work session. This is going to be done by resolution in a temporary status so that we can evaluate it for 90 days and determine if any changes or alterations need to be made to those specifications. But it will be 2 temporary to-go parking spaces on West 4th Avenue, just like we have done at other areas in the borough. If so inclined, I would need a motion to approve.
Thank you, Steph. So the motion for council is to approve Resolution 2022-25, establishing 2 temporary to-go parking spaces on West 4th Avenue.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is considering a resolution which actually creates the Main Street Overlay Task Force. So as discussed previously, we are in the process of formulating a Main Street Overlay Zoning District. We have had a public forum and public meetings along with our consultant to start that process. The task force generation is the next step in that process while we move forward the actual drafting of what that overlay district will look like. We've proposed recommendations in terms of the makeup of the task force, which would be no more than 2 members of Borough Council, at least 2 borough residents, at least one of which should be an owner of property in the borough, at least 3 borough business owners. Note that a business owner that is also a resident of the borough will serve a dual role on the task force and count as a resident member as well. So this could reduce the task force size from 9 members to 7 members. The borough zoning officer and the borough manager or the designee. The Main Street Overlay Task Force will be a consultant and an advisory board to Borough Council as we move forward through the drafting stages of the overlay zoning district itself. They will be asked to provide reports to Borough Council and work with our consultant and our borough staff and professionals. The goal here, if approved this evening, would be that now that the task force was created by resolution, we would then advertise the actual task force itself and ask for interested individuals to apply to the task force. We would then interview those interested individuals and appoint along with our other appointees by the end of 2022, so that moving into 2023, the task force, along with our consultant, is ready to get to work in drafting that ordinance. So if inclined, I would need a motion, which actually creates the task force.
Thank you, Steph. So the motion is to approve Resolution 2022-26, creating a Main Street Overlay Task Force.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next item is under new business, which I will again turn over to Ms. Chicka.
Thank you. We have an escrow release on the agenda this evening. It is for Sora West. It is in the amount of $380,023.75. It has been reviewed by the borough engineer, and her recommendation was provided in your meeting materials for review.
Thank you, Steph. So if council is inclined, the motion is to approve Sora West Financial Security Escrow Release number 9 in the amount of $380,023.75.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The Friends of Conshohocken Parks generated posters for the Fun Fest event. They're asking for reimbursement in the amount of $56.18. So inclined, I would need a motion.
Motion is to approve a reimbursement request for the Friends of Conshohocken Parks in the amount of $56.18.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the consideration for the sale of police vehicles on Municiped. In your meeting materials, there were 2 vehicles. There was a 2015 Chevy Tahoe and a 2016 Ford Explorer. This evening, we're going to table the 2015 Chevy Tahoe. We are in the middle of conversations with Narberth Ambulance to determine if that vehicle would be of use to their organization. So we're going to hold off on approving it for Municipid, and for this evening, I'm simply asking that you consider a minimum bid threshold of $5,000 on Municipid for the 2016 Ford Explorer.
So the motion this evening is to approve Resolution 2022-27, authorizing the sale of the 2016 Ford Explorer for a minimum bid of $5,000 on Municipid.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
As we've discussed to date, we are looking at introducing some pocket parks along Fayette Street. One of them will be at the Fritz Lodge. We are looking to submit for a Pico Green Region Open Space Grant. It would be in the amount of $10,000. It does require a match, and that match would be included in your budget for 2023. I do need a resolution that is approved, which authorizes the submission of that application to the Pico Green Region Open Space Program.
So the motion this evening for council is to approve Resolution 2022-28, authorizing the submission of the Pico Green Region Open Space Program Grant application for the Fritz Lodge Pocket Park project with a grant matching requirement of $10,000.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is a change to an amendment to the police CBA per the disability language. We are always in a cycle with the Pennsylvania Department of Auditor General to audit all of our pension plans. On the last audit, there was an observation that the governing pension document, which indicates that the disability language in the police CBA needs to be changed to be consistent with the police pension governing document, basically that salary is used at the time of disability. We now have an opportunity during this audit cycle to correct that observation so that both of the documents now match each other. So what I'm asking council to consider tonight is that the change is administrative in nature and that the police pension governing document already has the jurisdiction when determining the disability pension. The CBA simply needs to accurately reflect the governing document in order for the borough to close out the PA Auditor General 2022 police pension audit. So the actual recommended action is to approve the revision, which would indicate that the disability benefit is equal to 50% of the participant's monthly salary at the time the disability was incurred. And again, that statement language is already in the pension governing document. It simply needs to reflect accurately in the police CBA. So it is an administrative language change.
Thank you, Steph. So the motion for council this evening is the revision to the police CBA disability language to be consistent with the police pension governing document, which indicates that the disability benefit is equal to 50% of the participant's monthly salary at the time the disability was incurred.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to ask if there's any public comment. You could come up to the stadium and state your name and address, please, for the record.
Yes, my name's Anna Marie Traveling. I live at 139 West 10th Avenue. And I've heard various information about these pocket parks. So can somebody explain to me what the purpose of these are? I mean, we have parks in town. Why do I want my tax money to pay for more parks? Can somebody explain it to me?
So what I can say is that at our public visioning meeting that we held for the Main Street corridor, what was asked for and talked about a lot from the multiple folks that had attended was that we would want to make our Main Street corridor more walkable and more friendly to folks using that corridor and connecting the lower end of town to the upper end of town. And some of the amenities that could contribute to that type of environment or atmosphere in our Main Street corridor would be areas where our residents could sit and enjoy the space or take a break from walking up and down the street for those that have trouble walking far distances. So it really actually came from the residents as an additional amenity that would help bring our Main Street kind of into that next level of walkability.
Okay, so if that's the purpose of it, why don't we start out with 2nd Avenue first? Because it's down in the area where all the events are going on, where people are eating, people are outside, as opposed to starting up further on Fayette Street.
See, that's
The
the
reason-
that's the idea.
Okay,
is
the
to
reason I
start
say
up.
that is because you're proposing leasing or renting the space, creating it, maintaining it. and it's not even our land. So, whereas Second Avenue, I will make an assumption, is ours, is it not? That space there where the statue is,
It is.
the soldier?
And Second Avenue is going to take some time.
We're working on it.
It's a much more complicated renovation than just adding a couple benches and some landscaping. There's a lot that is going to have to go into that. That will take 2 years to just plan.
Okay, again, my problem is the cost of this. I mean, we're
So-
going to be paying this
Sure,
rent,
so
this
I'm not
leasing,
sure if you
and-
know-
And wait a
Okay, go
minute. And my problem is, what if these areas aren't really utilized? We're locked into these leases and rent agreements, and for what?
The one that's being proposed between the United Methodist Church and Santander Bank, the land is owned by Julian Moralia. The church will be able to utilize that because we do have outdoor services. So we will be able to have things in that little park that he is providing for us.
Again,
So,
I really would like to see how one area is used first before we jump into other areas.
So I would suggest that with the interest that you're showing in the Park and Park and the actual Main Street overlay, which is what this is all about, that maybe you would like to be one of the residents that might want to come in and
share your ideas.
interview to be on the committee for the Main Street overlay. It would give you a much better understanding of everything that we're doing and the vision that the residents already have given us, which then your input will be part of.
Is there any idea about how much this is all going to cost us?
We have,
Because at the last meeting, it was kind of vague.
well, it's still being something that is worked on. The only one that will be substantial in cost is Second Avenue.
Yeah.
Second Avenue is the one that is going to be more substantial in cost, not the other two.
So just from an administrative standpoint,
Mhm.
we're talking about for the Fritz Lodge, a 20-year agreement at no cost. There is no cost for that land. And then the project itself, we're still formulating the actual design and what numbers will go with that design. So just in terms of your concern about the price to acquire the land for 20 years, there is no cost to the borough. And then in terms of the Santander, called the Santander Pocket Park, that's $100 a month for an amenity that was specifically requested at that location in order to serve the businesses that are out there, and the hope of maybe encouraging more businesses to move up to those upper avenues.
Okay, so, but there is no guarantee about how much, what percentage, I guess, of use these are going to be.
There's not, but if there's no cost associated with acquiring that land, or a very minimal cost to acquire an open space amenity, then based off of the feedback that we received from the comprehensive plan in 2018, and then the community service survey that was done, the community-wide survey that was done in 2018, and then the public forums that we had this year, open space is a major desire and a component of the livability and walkability of the borough. So we are directly responding to residents' requests at a very minimal cost.
Okay, I mean, I still don't see the point of it, I really don't. Okay, because we have so many, we have Marywood Park, Sutcliffe Park, the park down on Hector Street, we have the A field, B field, which is very underutilized, I was just over there today. Yes, Marywood Park is used because people bring their children there and they sit on the benches. I just don't know how much use this is going to get, or people just deciding they want to sit down and spend some time there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Coffee is sitting there.
Is there anyone else this evening for public comment? Mayor Aronson?
Right, thank you, President Leonard. Busy couple weeks since our last meeting. I want to make sure our residents here and watching at home know just how much goes into planning Fun Fest, which we had on Saturday. It really is all hands on deck from everyone in the borough. So a big thank you to our administration and staff and everyone that worked the event. It was massive. So and all the feedback I've gotten has been very, very positive. So thank you to everyone in our administration and emergency services. We also had our yearly restaurant rally put on by Conshohocken and Ambucks. It was a sold-out event and had the participation of 21 restaurants this year. It was a perfect day, and all proceeds go to supporting the Special Olympics. So thank you to everyone that participated and to Conshohocken and Ambucks. And then just before COVID, I worked with one of our detectives, Detective Walter, to do a identity theft class for residents. And one of the initiatives that came out of that was to have a shredding event so residents could safely and securely get rid of documents. So we're doing that once again this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Caldwell Banker. And it's a great way to get rid of anything sensitive, and you can come hang out with me and Detective Walter and the Caldwell Banker team. So I hope to see you there. And that's it for me.
Thank you, President Leonard. I just wanted to say Fun Fest was, to piggyback off the mayor, one of the best events, Fun Fest I've ever seen. I've never seen it that crowded. Everyone was having a really great time, and thank you to everybody involved top to bottom with that, and it was a wonderful day. So thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Unfortunately, I was out of town. But it sounds like a wonderful time, and I'm maybe look forward to next year if you can change the date. But other than that, I have nothing. Thank you.
Nothing.
Kathleen? Andrew?
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Gina?
Just a reminder to everyone that we're coming into that season where we start recruiting for boards and commissions as the seats start turning over. So I highly encourage anyone that really wants to understand and start getting involved in the borough in an official capacity, that we've got lots of opportunity and lots of need for new faces and new ideas.
Thank you. And I am also going to piggyback off of everyone on the Fun Fest. The Fun Fest was a wonderful day. It was a wonderful event. And I will thank everyone for all the work that they did on Saturday, because they were there from 6 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the evening. But also the work that everyone has done all year to prepare for the Fun Fest. I don't think people realize how much work that every aspect of the borough does just in preparation and then executes the day of the Fun Fest. So tonight I am going to specifically thank everyone. I'm going to thank Lauren Irizarry for her spearheading the event, the Recreation Department, the Fire Department, the Police Department, the Fire Police, the Narberth Ambulance, the entire public service team, who without them, none of this would be possible. Our borough administrators, who very quietly do so much all year to make this event what it is, and then do it all day. Our sewer authority, they lent us guys to help with the cleanup. It was a huge help. I can't even express how grateful everyone is to them for their help. Janine Riley, Mark Danick, and all of our volunteers who made the event possible. It was just a wonderful day for the borough, and I think everyone that is part of the borough should be celebrated for what they did to prepare us for that enjoyment of the day, because it was just a beautiful event. So thank you to everyone that is here that was involved, and for everyone that I just listed. It was just a wonderful day. So thank you. And if no one else has any comments, I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.